Okay, so let's quickly discuss the mandatory disclosure document. So in terms of legislation, the Property Practitioners Act, the mandatory disclosure referred to in section 67 of the Act shall be in the following format. So the problem also comes into play with mandatory disclosure documents that some agencies change. This specific format is the format, these 3 pages is the format that we received from the PPRA, the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. So they specified that the mandatory disclosure document must be in this specific format. You may not change anything on this document. So the only thing that I added to this document is the specific property description, where I've inserted this specific block. The PPRA's document is only a one-liner, so that leaves room for errors where the specific description of the property is not 100% correct. So inserted on their line, I just inserted this specific block. But the rest of the document is absolutely 100% the copy that they provided us with. And in terms of the PPRA, we may not edit this document in any way or format unless we obtain exemption from them to do so. So I've seen a lot of agencies out there using their own property disclosure document that asks a lot of other questions and maybe not even include the questions that's asked on this document as it should be. So then you sit with problems where if there is a dispute at the end of the day, and this goes to court, then you have not used the correct mandatory disclosure document. So the one that must be used within our estate agency is this specific document. We will not accept any other document but this one. If at one stage we do decide to ask for exemption, then we will do so and distribute that specific document to all the agents in the agency. We could not even add this document on a letterhead of our agency because the PPRA says it is not allowed at all. So this document as it is the only document that must be used as the mandatory property disclosure document in terms of section 67 of the Act. So make sure that you always, again, provide the correct property detail as described by Lightstone or CMA Info. So if we read through this document, this report does not constitute a guarantee or warranty of any kind by the owner of the property or by the property practitioners representing that owner in any transaction. This report should therefore not be regarded as a substitute for any inspections or warranties that prospective purchasers may wish to obtain prior to concluding an agreement of sale in respect of the property. So this just means obviously we do report on what we can see, and the owner also reports on what he or she knows is a defect on the property. But there could be small defects or maintenance that's necessary that's not necessarily reported on this document, and therefore it cannot be a guarantee or warranty to the purchasers. So definitions, just make sure that you understand the definitions as well. To be aware means to have actual notice or knowledge of a certain fact or state of affairs. And a defect means any condition, whether it's a latent defect, meaning you see it later on, once you only move in as the purchaser, then you notice a specific defect. Or a patent defect, which is blatantly visible. You can see it the moment that you walk into the property. You can see there's a cracked tile on the floor, or you can see the walls must be painted. You can see a crack in the wall, or something that you can physically and immediately see when you walk into the property. So latent and patent defects. Make sure that you understand it and that you can explain this clause to the sellers and buyers as well. Disclosure of information, clause 3 or paragraph 3. The owner of the property discloses the information hereunder in the full knowledge that even though this is not to be construed as a warranty, prospective purchasers of the property may rely on such information when deciding whether and or what terms to purchase the property. The owner hereby then authorizes the appointed property practitioner marketing the property for sale to provide a copy of this statement and to disclose any information contained in this statement to any person in connection with any actual or anticipated sale of the property. So therefore, this specific disclosure document must be shown to any prospective purchaser who comes out and views the property, so that you can immediately, when they step into the door, show those defects to them, and when they then sign the OTP, they must, together with the OTP, sign this property disclosure document. If they do not sign this document together with the OTP and signs it afterwards, they could have grounds to cancel the transaction, because then they can argue this document was never shown to me, the defects was never shown to me, and then it is a ground for cancellation of the transaction. So you do not want that. The property disclosure document is the most important document that needs to be completed and that needs to be discussed with the seller and the buyers. If we move further down to paragraph 4, provisions of any additional information, the owner represents that to the best of his or her knowledge, the responses to this statement in respect of the property contained herein have been accurately noted as either yes or no or not applicable. So should the owner have responded to any of the statements with a yes, the owner shall be obliged to provide in the additional information area of this form a full explanation as to the response to the statement concerned. Meaning, if we move further down, the following questions must be answered by the seller. I am aware of the defects in the roof. So if the answer is yes, then below at the additional information block, on this block, you must specify, yes, I do know of any defects. A, B, and C is the problem with the roof. If it's no, then you answer no. So go through the rest of the questions and read these questions to the seller, and they must answer it honestly and ethically. If you, as the property practitioner, see anything that the owner, that the seller did not mention on this document, please point it out to them and tell them, but sir, I see there is some water stains on the ceiling, but you said that there's absolutely no problems with the roof. Make sure that they tell you the truth, because otherwise the buyers can then say, you as the property practitioner were also aware of the defects in the roof, of the leakages and so on, and you never informed me thereof, meaning you were also dishonest and acting unethically. So make sure to also write down whatever you see, and then tell your sellers, Mr. Seller, just please be aware of the fact that you do not have to fix these things. You just have to disclose them to the buyer so that they know what they are buying, and so that they know that there is some defects with this specific property, but you are not going to fix them. They will buy this property footsteps as they see it, so they buy it. But this will prevent disputes further down the line when it comes to the purchasers moving in after the property has now registered on their name. Then you are for sure covered, because you can then say all of these things was discussed with you when you went to view the property, and also when you actually signed the OTP and the disclosure document, you were totally aware of what you actually bought. Then moving further down to page 3, owner certification. The owner hereby certifies that the information provided to the best of his or her knowledge is true and correct. Paragraph 7, certification by person supplying the information. So if the person other than the owner is supplying the information, they also have authorization by the owner to do so. So sometimes tenants will supply the information, or if the property is vacant and the owner has now moved to a different province, they will ask you as the property practitioner to go and inspect the property and maybe make a note of what you can see. They will then tell you, listen, years ago there was a leak in the roof. Just see if you can see any stains on the ceiling. And then later on you can disclose it to the purchasers to say, listen, there was a leak in the roof, it was fixed, I cannot see any stains, but I'm just telling you, I'm informing you of this possible defect. Then paragraph 8, notice regarding advice or inspections. Both the owner as well as the potential buyers of the property may wish to obtain professional advice. So you can obtain professional advice, but if it is the buyers insisting on a professional person coming to inspect the property, that will be for their own account and not for the seller's account. Again, then, buyer's acknowledgement. The prospective buyer acknowledges that he or she has been informed that professional expertise and or technical skill and knowledge may be required to detect defects in and non-compliant aspects concerning the property. The prospective buyer acknowledges receipt of a copy of this statement. So again, you have to give them a copy of this document when they do sign the OTP. They have to get a copy of the OTP that was signed by both the seller and the buyer. And they also have to obtain a copy of this property disclosure document once all parties has signed all the agreements. So make sure signatures of the owners are on this document and signatures of the purchasers are on this document, and you as the property practitioner sign this document off as well. So that's why I say it's very important you as the property practitioner are also going to sign this document. So make sure that if you do see or notice any other defects that the seller has not indicated on this document, make sure that you tell them and inform them, but sir, I noticed this or that, I'm going to add it to this document. Just know that you don't have to fix it, we just have to make the buyers aware of the defects.